The title of this talk is Don't Tell Me What to Do versus a case for renunciation. So one day I was writing about loss, about letting go, giving up, losing. And I started to get curious about the relationship between these words: surrendering, letting go of, letting go into, giving up on something, giving up someone, letting go of a dream, letting go of a belief, letting go of a life, or letting go into the mystery, letting go into the depths of our emotions, letting go into the all-encompassing experience of experience. One thing I love about the Buddhist teachings is that he taught us to try it out for ourselves. Don't take my word for it. I'm sure those are the words he used. Don't take my word for it. Try it out yourself. See if it's useful. See what works. He asked us to think for ourselves and to develop our own understanding. So here too, I'll offer some quotes from the Buddha and some other teachers and some other just people and a few from me. And with all of those, I really ask that you hear them and see how they might come alive in your lives. Pick them off the page or out of the sound. How do they work? So here's the Buddha. If by renouncing a lesser happiness, one may realize a greater happiness, let the wise man renounce the lesser, having regard for the greater happiness. There's that renunciation thing. I remember my first retreat, my first residential retreat. I was nervous. A week-long retreat. I've never done a retreat. What am I doing here? And they hand us, as we get in the hall, the first evening, everybody gets a piece of paper, and on that paper are listed 5 precepts. There are lots and lots more, but we really focus on 5. You came to the right place. So the precepts are things we're supposed to commit ourselves to on retreat. And I often find my adolescent self shows up first in cases like this. And she says, I don't think so. And then I read the paper. No whiff of 10 commandments. Okay, I can do this. This is really a way to have all of us in community feel respected and cared for, and I can do that. So here are the 5 precepts that you'll run into if you come to one of our retreats. I undertake to observe the rule, 1, to abstain from taking life, 2, to abstain from taking what is not freely given, to abstain from sexual misconduct, to abstain from false speech, and last, to abstain from intoxicants as tending to cloud the mind. Okay. My adolescent self calms down and says, okay, I can renounce killing, lying, stealing, intoxicants, and sexual activity for 1 week. You're only asking me not to harm anybody on this retreat. It's only a week, and I wasn't really planning on doing any of those things anyway. We ate vegetarian meals. We carefully escorted spiders, ladybugs, and stink bugs out of the meditation hall. We were silent. No problem with that lying one. And the other precepts were similarly manageable. Success, and really easy peasy. As I continued in my Buddhist study and reflection, I learned more about the precepts and how we might put them to use more broadly. Take them off the page. Breathe some real life into them. Even have the audacity to question them. What does it mean to steal, to kill, to lie. Consider some of the common ways we use those words in our English idioms. To steal the spotlight, to kill the mood, to lie to myself. It's an interesting place to spend some time in contemplation. Intoxicants. Have you ever been intoxicated by your own strong opinions, leading to a clouding of consciousness? I'm the only one? The rest of you are lying. Okay. So as I contemplated, I noticed there were lots and lots of ways that I caused myself to suffer by committing acts counter to these precepts. I can easily steal my own peace of mind by perseverating over a perceived slight, an inconvenience, even a grievous injury. It wasn't the slight, the inconvenience, or even the injury that causes my suffering. It's my clinging to the belief that they should not have happened. In these examples, I'm stealing and lying. Stealing my peace and lying to myself by clinging to a belief that my troubles should not have happened. There is no truth in that belief. They should not have happened. They happened. Here's the truth. My suffering was caused by my breaking of the precepts. Not the 10 Commandments sort, not breaking the law, but 5 stances that I could choose to adopt that could ease or even prevent my suffering. The precepts, of course, are one example of renunciation. And now that you've heard my response to the 5 precepts when I was initially handed that piece of paper, you can imagine how I might feel about renunciation. I recoil. Except my whole life, there's been one little part of me that leans in and goes, that sounds interesting. Does anybody else feel that way? Like, don't get too close, but So here are a few definitions of renunciation. The Oxford Dictionary defines renunciation as the formal rejection of something, typically a belief, claim, or course of action. This is the one I really love, Merriam-Webster. Ascetic self-denial. Thanks, but no. And now that bit of me that thought renunciation might be intriguing, no longer terribly interested in that. It sounds honestly like an invitation to suffering. It sounds mean. Self-denial. And the Buddha practiced renunciation in his early days after leaving his palatial lifestyle. It's said that he ate only 1 grain of rice a day. And he nearly starved to death with no attendant enlightenment for his troubles. So renunciation, nah, not for me. Not for the Buddha. Why would I? And then I continued again in Buddhist study and reflection. And I learned a little bit more about renunciation. And that's what we're here to explore together. Here's David Mickey's definition of renunciation. Renunciation is turning away from the true causes of our suffering. Now that's intriguing. I want to know more about that one, that renunciation. Gil Fronsdale says, we can see the Buddhist emphasis on what is gained through letting go by how the tradition understands renunciation. While the English word implies giving something up, the Buddhist analogy for renunciation is to go out from a place that is confined and dusty into a wide open, clear space. Really different than what I had imagined. So what about desire? We desire. Desire can certainly be wholesome. Desire leads to curiosity, to creativity, to love, to intimacy, to invention. Desire pulls us in and pulls us on. Craving, though, is different than desire. Oh, I love that. Good. So let's take just a moment. Just take a moment, a breath worth of contemplation on the word desire. How does it feel in the body to just contemplate the word desire? And let that go. And what does it feel like to contemplate the word craving? How does the body respond to the word craving? Would anyone like to share what you noticed? Did anybody notice a difference? Was it the same? I have to go to the guy who went, when I said there's a difference. Would you care to say how they might have felt different? You don't have to.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
So the desire felt sort of warm and open, and felt okay. When I contemplated craving, there was this contraction, this like closing out, or almost like a running away, actually.
Thanks. Yep.
I really agree with what you said, but just to elaborate on it, like desire felt like an okay space to be in. Like you're not reaching the point, but that's kind of the point. And whereas craving, it's like this urgency to like get the relief, get the thing.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. Thank you both. Anybody else? Anybody on Zoom? Uh-oh, we lost them. Anybody on Zoom? You can raise your hand or your virtual hand, or you can just talk. Okay. Hannah Arendt points out that our craving aims at a world we know. It does not discover anything new. The distinctive trait of this good that we crave is that we do not have it. Once we have the object, our desire ends unless we're threatened with its loss. In that case, the craving to have turns into a fear of losing. Here's another interesting bit to notice about craving. Its focus is always on the future. To be happy, I need this. I need more money. I need this ice cream to soothe myself. I need that pair of shoes. Where did they go? Somebody in this here has a pair. I need those shoes. Maybe in the throes of a breakup, a divorce, or the death of a loved one, the thought is, I need this person. How will I? And that's the key, the how will I? It's future. This unhappy creature is living in the wreckage of her future. And that's not simply wholesome desire. Craving holds at least a little bit of desperation. What did I miss? Tell me. Sorry. Oh, gee. Oh, okay. Something on the screen. It popped up. Thanks. Oh, well, here we go. This moment. This desperation, this felt sense that I can't be happy without this thing, whatever this thing is. Maybe even a barely perceptible sense that I can't be me without this thing. Maybe even I can't live without this thing. You know, maybe irrational thought, maybe not quite expressed in that way, but there's a sense we have sometimes of the mustness of a craving. This thing, whatever it is that we're craving, grows in importance to us until it is the size of our own personal life raft, except that it doesn't save us. It ties us to the object of our suffering. As long as we are bound to an uncertain future by craving, we are incapable of enjoying this moment. We're incapable of being present for this moment. This is one of my favorite quotes of all time. Omar Khayyam said, "Be happy for this moment. This moment is your life." I can't tell you how many times that quote has pulled me back from the edge. Be happy for this moment. This moment is your life. Gil Fronsdal says it is possible to let go either of a thing or of the grasping we have to that thing. In some circumstances, it's appropriate to give something up. In others, it's more important to let go of the grasping. When someone is addicted to alcohol, it's necessary to renounce alcohol. However, when someone is clinging to the past, it is not the past that needs to be abandoned, rather it is the clinging. If the past is rejected, it can't be a source of understanding. When there's no clinging to it, it's easier to learn the lessons that the past provides. Sister Sirpana from the Amaravati monastic community in England points out that renunciation is not necessarily something that involves having a shaved head or wearing a robe. It's an attitude, a way of approaching life, which essentially boils down to giving up seeking our fulfillment from the experiences of our life, of needing them to have a particular quality, and giving our energy instead to understanding experience itself. She says, when we understand this, we can start to glimpse that renunciation is not a matter of doing something or having to create something or getting rid of something or exterminating something in life. Rather, it is moving towards non-contention, a sense of rest and relaxation, not having to constantly try and manipulate and control and invade and maneuver anymore. We are able to open into in a fearless way and relax into the experience of the moment, whatever its quality may be. Open in a fearless way. Relax into the experience of the moment. Doesn't that sound enticing? And yet, when those are just words, simply instructions, they're as useful as the condom in the drawer or the birth control pills in the bathroom cupboard. We must use them, practice them. For me, the fear of getting pregnant when I didn't want to be was very potent. In whatever throes, we were not having unprotected sex. But when I'm in the throes of some high test craving or some inspired indignation, I am often unable to find these instructions or even remember that there's another way to respond. The very potent mind states of craving or aversion, instead of being a cue for me to pause, often overwhelm any possibility of my being able to relax and open to the moment, open into my own experience. Those mind states don't know anything about curiosity, relaxation, or acceptance. And damn it, ice cream won't fix them. But between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. There's some disagreement about who said that. We can talk about that later. Stephen Covey or Viktor Frankl. So my misery is simply my misery. My misery is actually separate from the preceding event. Stimulus, space, response. So what can go in that space? Here's a hypothetical. And truly, this is a hypothetical. I don't imagine my sister will ever listen to this talk. This did not happen. My sister calls and says she can't take our mom to a doctor's appointment after all, as she's promised. And now I'll have to do it. I have an important meeting that I'll have to cancel. This is the third time this has happened in 2 months. Space. What happens in this space? Maybe these thoughts. She promised 3 times. Why does it always fall to me? It's always on my back that I always have to pick up the slack. It's so unfair. I'm always the one who, and I've filled that space with those thoughts. So then is the response. I'm furious. I don't say anything though. I take my mom to the doctor's, feeling resentful of my sister, my mother, and her darned aging body with its needs. When I get home, it's ice cream and Netflix. Did my sister cause my distress? Did my mom? Did my response cause my distress? What if something else were to go in that space right after stimulus? Can you see that what sparked my misery is not what caused my misery? What happened between stimulus and response? I had a few thoughts, some opinions. How might it have been different had I paused? Open in a fearless way. Relax into the experience of the moment. Even if the moment is ouch, right? This is what's happening. Somewhere in the middle of writing this talk, I took a break to get a fresh glass of water and to stretch and fold the sourdough. And here's a bit that went through my mind, stream of consciousness. Welcome to my world. Now what? Is this even making sense? I'm not getting where I wanted to go. I don't even like this topic anymore. This is a beautiful day. I should go for a walk. I should call my sister. No, I've got to write this talk. Then out loud, that was inside, now it's outside. How do I even do this? This is true. This is happening in my kitchen. This thing I'm teaching, how do I even do it? I'm writing about letting go and I'm flailing. I'm absolutely flailing. I'm all angsty. I'm really nervous. I'm frustrated. How does this thing actually work in my life? Also out loud, okay, stop. What is actually happening here? Taking the Buddha's messages off the page. What do I do? Long pause, standing in front of the kitchen window, staring out at my backyard, while I look to see what was happening in me. Then still out loud, I'm feeling frustrated. I'm feeling confused, incapable, vulnerable. Oh. And then tenderness arises. And the frustration is gone. There's tenderness. Oh, that's interesting. I really want it to be a good talk. Ah, there, the wanting. What if instead of desperately wanting it to be a good talk, I simply do my best to write a talk that might be useful, even if only to me? And that roughly 1-minute chat created just the shift I needed. Instead of spinning out, I was with myself. This pause, this interruption of the flail, brought me back to the present moment. And in that moment, space opened for patience, for curiosity, for friendliness to emerge. Thich Nhat Hanh advises we should be able to sit with ourselves, come home to ourselves, and listen to what emotions are rising up without judging or interrupting them. We can listen to whatever thoughts come up as well, and then let them pass without holding on to them. The Buddha instructs, lose the greed for pleasure. See how letting go of the world is peacefulness. There's nothing that you need to hold on to, and there's nothing that you need to push away. Letting go of desire forever isn't the goal. We will fail at that. It's cultivating the intention to loosen our attachment, not to just material things and sensory pleasures, but to self-obsession and destructive emotions as well. As tricycle rider Joan Duncan Oliver says, renunciation isn't about taking monastic vows or exchanging your Tempur-Pedic mattress for a pallet. It's about the wisdom to realize that holding on to anything impermanent only brings sorrow. And from the Buddha, there are two extremes which should not be followed, bhikkhus, monks, by someone who has gone forth. Devotion to pursuing sense pleasure, which is low, vulgar, worldly, ignoble, and produces no useful result. And devotion to self-denial, which is painful, ignoble, and produces no useful result. Avoiding both these extremes, monks, the middle way that a Buddha has awakened to, gives vision and insight, knowledge, and leads to peace, profound understanding, full realization, and to nibbana. May this be our practice. May we come home to ourselves again and again, leaving the fantasy of the future and the fiction of the past. May we see our life as an opportunity to awaken in each moment, to understand the way things are. Renunciation, giving up, letting go, facing, even welcoming truth with a clear eye and a friendly gaze. This is truth and this is freedom. This is the nature of things. This is the Dharma. And a shout out for Dan, go Chiefs. Thank you all for your attention and your practice.